Hello, so for this video we're going to be going over the basic granny square. This is one I've done earlier where I've color changed at the end of each round just so I can point to it and show you what section we're working on. Hopefully the different colors makes it a bit easier to see what section we'll be crocheting. This is what ours are going to look like. We're going to start with 3 rounds of one color, and in the second video I'll show you how to do a color change to get a border on here, and then how to finish off the work so you're weaving in the ends and just tightening everything so it's nice and finished like this one here. So when we're looking at a granny square, the basic anatomy of something that looks like this is that every little cluster that we're working on is made up of 3 double crochets. So all of these little petals are 3 double crochets, and then the corners just have a chain 2 to separate them. So there's 3 here, chain 2, and then another 3 double crochets to make the corners of the work. The other thing about the granny square is that we're going to be working in the round, which is why I'm calling these rounds and not rows. So on our test patches, we were working with rows. We were going to the end, flipping it over, and then doing another row, flipping it over, doing another row. But with the granny square, we're not flipping. We're working on one side only, and we're going to be working in a circle. So our starting little cross, our starting square, is going to be working into this center. So we're working in the round with the granny squares. The other thing about the granny square is that once you learn how to make the center and row number 2, row 3 onwards is all a repeat. So you could add this, so this one here has 4 rows. You could add a 5th row, 6th row, 7th row, and just keep going to make these granny squares as big as you like. You could essentially turn it into a blanket. Or what you can do is make patches at whatever size you like and then crochet them together. So this is what it would look like, and then I can do another video in the future showing you how to crochet these together, and they could add a border. You can add a border around it and then crochet onto the second one with another border, and there's lots of different things that you can do to connect them together. But in this video we're just going to be focusing on the basic granny square. Okay, so to get started we want to get a slip knot on our hook, and we learnt this in the chaining video, so we're going to get that loop nice and secure. And the first thing we want to do is chain 3. So we're going to put 3 chains in, 1, 2, 3, and you want them not too tight but not too loose either. So hopefully you've practiced your tension and you can get 3 chains that look like this, and we're going to work into this chain here. So it's the third one from the hook. We're going to skip the first V, skip the second V, and it's going to be just above the knot that we made, just above that slip knot. So we're going into the first one, and by doing this we're creating a circle. So we want to pick up a stitch, so we're doing a single crochet into that chain, and it should look something like this. So I'll show you that again. So this is our 3 chains here, and we're going right into the 3rd chain from the hook. So the first one on from our slip knot, going into that V to do a single crochet, bringing that through, finishing our single crochet, and you should have something that looks like this. Now, this little circle end here that we've made, it probably feels like we're going to be crocheting into that circle. We're not. It's a trick circle that's been made with the slip knot. So you want to tighten that, and with your nails just pull that up so it's nice and tight. So we get a circle that's all nice and closed like this. The circle we're actually going to be working into is between our 2 posts that make up that single crochet. So this is my single crochet right here. We want to split the legs of that crochet. You want to split it open, and that is what's going to reveal the circle that we're going to be crocheting into. That's the circle right there. So split that single crochet. If I close it back up, there you go, the single crochet is back to normal, but we want to split it to make our circle, just like that. So once we've split it and we can see our circle, you want to pinch the inside of the single crochet so it stays open, and you want to crochet 3 chains. So we're going to crochet 1 chain, 2, 3. So we have 3 chains. So there's our circle in the center and our 3 chains. Now this chain of 3 is going to be taking the place of a double crochet. So it's a fake double crochet. And what I mean by that is if we look at this reference piece here, we're making our first cluster right now. We're making our first cluster of double crochets, and we have to bring our yarn up to the height of a double crochet. Because if I was just to put a double crochet into that hole without putting the chain there, it's going to sink and sag and be flat. It's not going to be nice and tall. So it's like a when you're growing tomatoes and you put the stick in there to make it grow straight, that's what we're doing here. We're putting a supporting pole in there, but it's going to be counted as a double crochet. So that's going to be counted as one double crochet. And then that means that for this cluster that we're working on now, we only need 2 double crochets to complete this first little cluster. So we want to split that nice and open. And we want to yarn over, and we want to go into that hole that we created between the 2 legs of the single crochet. We want to go into that hole. We're grabbing our yarn just like we were to do a normal double crochet. So now we've got 2/3 of our first cluster done, and we want to add 1 more double crochet. So we're yarning over and going into that circle. The more stitches, the more double crochets you put into this circle, the easier it's going to be. It's a little bit tough at the start to get your first 3 double crochets nice and secure on there, but the more you go around, the easier it'll get. So we're just putting it into that circle in the center. We're working in there. So the other thing that you want to keep in mind is with our tail, we want to keep that out of the way. So the way that I hold it is I've got my yarn here and I've got my tail end and I'm pinching it like that. So I'm using my fingers to hold that tail as well. And I'm pinching it as I'm going around. So we're going to be crocheting over this section. This is going to be part of the circle that we're crocheting over. So I'll show you how to do that. We have to make our first corner first. So if we have a look at our reference piece, we've made this first cluster here. So now we have to make the 2 chains that run underneath that, the second row. So just here, we're making this corner. And we do that by adding 2 chains. So we're going to put 1 chain there and a second chain. So that's our corner. And now we're working on this second little cluster here. So we're going to do 3 double crochets to make that. And this is where we're going to be going over our circle. We're going to be crocheting over that. We're going to yarn over and do our first double crochet into the hole, bringing it up. So that's 1. And I'm spinning my hand around so we're kind of working in a circle. And I'm pinching it, so I've just gone over that. I'm going over the tail as well, so I'll show you. Picking up my yarn and I'm going over the tail. Ooh, there we go. Over the tail, or underneath the tail, I guess you could say. And I'm trapping it underneath that stitch. So I'll show you again. That's our second double crochet. And it might look all wonky at the moment, but we're just going to focus on making 3 and then we'll push it all together to make it look like a petal. So yarning over, and then I'm going underneath into that circle, trapping that yarn, that tail end that I'm holding, trapping it in there, and then finishing the double crochet. So now if we spread it apart and look at it, we've got 3 posts here, and if I push it down on the circle, hopefully you can see that is 2 little clusters right there. So what we've just made here is this section. Right there, we've made 2, we've made a corner. So the next part is we have to make our second corner and our 3rd little cluster. So we do that by adding another 2 chains to make our corner, and we're turning our work as we go. So now I'm going to put 3 double crochets in. So 1, 2, still working into the same center, 3. And I'm, like I said, I've crocheted over all of that work. It's nice and tight and hidden inside the circle. So now if we look at it, it looks like we're going to be closing up, but we've only done 3 clusters. So we just want to bring them down and give us some space to add our 4th cluster. So we've got 2 corners down at the bottom here. Got one corner here, 1 corner here. That means we've only got 1 cluster left to finish it off, but we have to add that corner first. So that's the second last corner, and now the last cluster of 3, 2, into the circle, 3, and now we're almost there. We've got our 4 clusters. It's almost closed up. We just need to add that 4th and final corner to finish it off. So we're adding our chain 2 for the corner, and now we need to secure the round. We need to close it up so we can work on the next part. So to close it up, what you need to do is, this is our original chain 3, our fake double crochet. There's little V's here, so that's where our V friends come into play again. There's one V, there's a second V, there's a third V. At the top of all of our work, we're going to have V's. But to secure it, you want to find the V that's closest to the top, and you want to put your hook under, just like we did with our swatches when we were making single crochet swatches. We're going to go under the V, so we've just got 2 legs of the V on our crochet hook. That's all you want, just the 2 legs. And this is where we're going to add a slip stitch. So a slip stitch is a stitch that doesn't create any volume. So a chain is going to give you some extra space to work with, and a single crochet gives you volume, but the slip stitch means that we're just closing it off. So you do that by inserting it underneath and grabbing a bit of yarn, just like we're going to do a single crochet. So we've got 2 loops on the hook, and with a single crochet, we'd finish that off. We'd yarn over and pull it through, but that is going to give us a little lump here, which we don't want. We want it to be hidden and seamless. So to do that, you want to put one of the loops, so the loop that's to the left, into the nook of the hook, and you want to bring it through the second loop, just like that. You want to bring it through. So that's going to essentially give you a seamless stitch, and we're not adding any volume, we're just crocheting them together. So I'll show you that again. We're going to find the V that's at the end of our fake double crochet, put it under that V, put it under that V, put our hook under the V, sorry, grab all of it, grab our stitch, bring it through. Oh, hang on. So this can happen sometimes when your yarn splits and it gets a little bit confusing and you're like, oh, no, I can't find my spot. If you just let it go to the next loop, then you can salvage it. So I've lost my corner piece, so I just have to make sure that I chain 2 to get my corner back. And now we're going back in, just like we were to do a double crochet, sorry, a single crochet. We've got 2 loops on there, but to finish it off, we're just going to drag this loop into the other one that's on our hook to finish it off. And that makes it nice and tight. And there's no extra space there. So now we've finished our first round. With the tail end at the back, you can pull that really tight and it closes the circle. So pull that tight, it'll close our circle. And that is your first round done. So we've got 1 loop on the hook still, and that is the green section completed. So the second row is going to be the purple one, and here we go. Okay, so for the second round, we're going to need to bring our yarn up again. So if I were to try and do a double crochet, I'll show you now what that looks like. It kind of makes it flat and wonky, and that's not what we want, because if we were to try and do a second one next to it, oops, it's going to lean and it's going to be flat, and it's just going to look not right and be pulling off the other way, and it doesn't work. So we need to bring our stitch up to get it to the height of that double crochet, and just like we did at the start, we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. So now we've got it to the height that we need, so when we add our double crochet, it's going to stand up nice and tall. Now this is where the second row is a little bit annoying and a little bit confusing. The 3 chains that we've just made now, we're going to ignore this. This is going to come back into play at the end. We're going to work into this first chain space. So these are called chain spaces. There's 4 of them, and they're our corners. So we're going to forget that this 3 chain exists for right now. We're going to leave it to the end, and we're going to move to that first space where we made our 2 chains. So we're going to be making these 2 petals now in that corner. So to do that, we want to yarn over and we want to crochet into that big giant space where you've got your 2 chains. We're going to go in there and we're going to make 3 double crochets. 1, 2. And so the other thing that I wanted to point out as well is I use my pinky to pull yarn from the ball. So if you watch me here, I'm putting my hook in, and then if I run out of yarn, I'm just pulling my pinky like that to grab it from the ball. So when I pull, if it's super tight like this, when I pull my finger up, it takes yarn from the ball. So my hand, when I'm crocheting, looks like this. And that's going to give me some extra yarn from the ball. So that's just a tip to help you crochet a little bit faster and to get yarn from the ball out a bit smoother so your tension stays nice and even. So that's my three posts here is my first cluster. So we've just made this part, and now we need to make this second part into that same hole because we're working in the corner. We're creating our corner edge. So we're going to chain 2 because we're still making our corner. And then what you're going to do is pull the stitches over to give you some more space on that chain to chain another 3. So that's why we've added that chain space, because we want to put 6 double crochets in there and we need some space on our work. So we're just going to pull it over nice and tight. And after I've chained 2, I can do another 3 to finish this corner. 1, 2, 3. So that's the corner done. If we have a look here, we've done these 2 purple petals, and then we've got the 3 chain stitch that we're ignoring for right now. So now we're moving on to this second corner right here. And because it's a corner piece, it needs 6 double crochets in there with the new corner that we're forming. So we're not chaining anything. We're not putting any chains in between here. There's no chains there. We're just going straight from the last petal into the new hole. So that's the end, and now we're going into that new space, not chaining anything, just a double crochet straight into there. 1, 2, 3. And so now we add our chain 2 to make that corner again, because we have to replace the corner that we lost just there by crocheting into it. Bring the stitches over so we have some more space on the chain, and then add 3 more to make that 6. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so now we've made, if I hold it this way, we've done the 6 crochets here, which is split by the 2, and we've done another 6 here. So now we're working in the third corner. Right here, we're going to make these 2 petals. So that's double crochet 3, chain 2, and then a double and 3 double crochets. Here we go. And I'm spinning my work around, as you can see, as we go. So again, we're not chaining any 2s here to get from one corner to the other corner. We only chain 2 in the corner itself. So double crochet 1, 2, and you can slow this down to catch up if you're not crocheting as fast as I am, which I'm assuming you're not because I've been doing this a long time. So we're going to chain 2 to make our new corner, pulling my stitches down so I have some more space to add the last 3. 1, 2, 3. And now we're at the final corner. We're working on this last little petal, the last 6 petals there. So now if we have a look at this corner, this is where we have to be reminded of our chain 3 from the start. The one that I told you to forget, we want to remember him now. So in the first row, I said that chain 3 is a fake double crochet. It acts as a double crochet, and that's what it's going to do in this row as well, or in this round as well. We're going to start off by doing our first 3 petals, so our first 3 double crochets, our first one. So 1, 2, 3. So on our little sample piece over here, I've made this petal, and now we're working on the last one. So we're going to chain 2 to get our corner back. And now this little chain here is going to be counted as a double crochet. So to finish this, we only need 2 double crochets because we've already got one here from right at the beginning. So we're going to crochet, double crochet 1, double crochet 2. And now this is the third one, and we need to connect them together to make the petal. And to do that, just like we did in the first round, we're going to go to the top V. See, these are all the V's here. We're going to go to the top one and do another slip stitch to join them. So just underneath them, like we did with our single crochets, we're going underneath the V, just the 2 legs on there, picking up my yarn and bringing it through. So instead of doing a single crochet, we're just going to slip stitch. We're going to slip this stitch through that one to join it up. Just like that. So now it's joined, and if we have a look at our work, we've finished round 2, and we've got our 4 corners with our chains, and then we've got the petals all separated here. So that's our second round. Okay, so with round 3, it's incredibly similar to round 2. It's just the only difference is where our chain 3 is going to end up. So for the start of this round, we have to bring up the 3 chains again. So 1, 2, 3, our fake double crochet. We've got to bring that up. Now with the last one, it ended at we ignored it and we left it to the end and we added it to our final 3 double crochets. But with this row, with row number 3 and all the rows onwards, we're going to be creating this centerpiece right here. This is the one that we're going to work on, so that when we come all the way around, we don't have to worry about including that last double crochet into the final petal of 3. We're just going to get it over with and get it crocheted right at the start. So we've got our 3 here and we're working into this chain space now. We've got a big space in the middle. We're working right in there. So we're going to, if you have a look here, we've got our 2 corners. And now for our third row, we've got this space available, and that's where we're going to put our 2 double crochets. So we're going into that space, that big giant open space. We're going to add 2 double crochets. 1, oops, I'll let that go. 1, 2. So now we've gotten rid of it and we don't have to think about that starting chain anymore. And we've just crocheted this little petal right here. So now we're moving on to the corner again. So for the corner, we're going to have to put 6 double crochets in there, separated by the chain 2 in the middle. So we're going to go into the corner. I'm going to we're going to double crochet 3. So again, we're not putting any chains in between this petal and this petal. There's no chain space in between here. The only chain spaces we put are the corners, and I can't reiterate that enough. It doesn't really matter because you're going to crochet over it anyway, so if you make a mistake, in the third row, I'll show you how to kind of hide a mistake so you don't have to pull your work out if you do something wrong. But the only double crochets we're putting are in the corner, and then everything else, all the other petals in between, so between this petal and this petal, there's no double crochet. Oh, so there's no chain 2. The chain 2s are only in the corners. So we're not putting any, we've finished this little circle here and we're moving on to this one. We're not putting any chain 2. We're just going to go straight with the double crochet. So 1, 2, 3. Now we are chaining 2 now because we're working on the corner. And then we're putting our 3 double crochets in at the end. 1, 2, 3. So now on our work, we've started off with this petal here and we've finished those 2. So now we're moving on to this single petal by itself, and we're not chaining 2, we're just going straight into that hole. So you should be able to see that this is one cluster of 3 and one cluster of 3, and there's a big space in the middle. That's where we're going to be putting our 3 double crochets right in there. So 1, 2, and 3. So now we're up to another corner, and the corners we're not chaining to, we're just going straight in with the double crochet to get here. So we're going to do our 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3. And for this, what I'll do here is I'm going to skip the chain 2. If you're crocheting along, make sure that you put your 2 chains in, but just to show you how to fix a mistake, I'm going to just say I lost count. I forgot to put 2 chains in here, and then just for an extra mess up, just say that I forgot to put 3 double crochets. Just say I put only 5 in. So you can see here, instead of having 6 double crochets, I've accidentally only crocheted 5 and I didn't separate them. So I'll show you when we do our our 4th round. That is when I'll go over this and show you how to fix a mistake like that, because I don't want you to feel like you've made a mistake, you've lost a stitch, or you've miscounted and you've only put 5 instead of 6 and you have to pull your work out. You don't have to pull your work out at all. You can redeem it. So I'll leave this one for now, and when we come back around with the 4th row, I'll go over how to fix it. So we're going into that. So now we're working on this petal here. We've done our corner piece, which should have the 2, but I've skipped it for this video just so I can show you how to fix it. And we're working on this petal here. So 1, 2, 3. We're almost coming around to the end. Got 2 more corners to work into. So I'll finish up this and then I'll come back and I'll show you when I get to the end of this round. Okay, so I've gone all the way around and I've just finished my last corner. I just finished this petal here. So now we're going to connect this petal to our starting one. And to do that, we're going to do another slip stitch. So we're just going to go over into where our chain 3 was, our fake double crochet. And again, we're just going underneath the V right here. Underneath the V, just like we're going to do a single crochet, bring it through, and instead of yarning over, we're just going to slip stitch right through there, just like that. And that's the end of round 3. So round 4, we're going to do a color change, and to do that, we're going to finish up this round, and I'll show you how to do that. So once you've got your hook on here like this, to finish it off, you just want to yarn over and pull it through, just like we're going to make a chain, but we're going to cut the yarn. So I'm going to leave a pretty long tail for mine, just like this, so we can weave it in at the end. Cut that there. And now I'm going to pull that yarn through just like that and push the loop down so it's nice and tight. So that isn't going anywhere now. That is all nice and locked in and it's not going to unravel. And then we can start with the color change in the second video.